so we are at week 5, and next week is our last week where we will just be focusing on one chapter. And then the last 2 weeks, we'll have 3 chapters in the last 2 weeks. So this week, we're on step 5, steer the power. We're level 2. And always want to remember our pledge. Apply biblical principles for managing my finances. Keep my expenses below my income. Pay my bills on time. Invest in assets that grow in value and contribute to my church and its ministries. Okay, so would someone like to read our opening prayer and response?
Who's that?
It's in the West.
That new person?
Yes, that is one of my sorors that is attending tonight.
Oh, okay,
What
great.
happened to her?
It's disappeared.
Oh, okay. Maybe she'll come back. She wanted to join. So good. I didn't know if she would be able to come on or not.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm on the Zoom through Presbyterian Church, but I put myself not as co-host because that's the only option they gave me, not as participant.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You're good.
Okay.
We'll record to the cloud, so we won't have.
Okay.
So someone want to read the opening prayer?
Yes, God help me to finish what I had started. Use the power I have, use the goals I set for.
Yes. Joe, your connection is a little choppy. So thank you for reading that for us. God help me to finish what I have started. That is just so true. I don't know if anyone can attest to that, but it is so true. Any comments about that opening prayer and response? If I have the power, I can reach the goals I have set for my future. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Okay. All right, let's get started. This is a power-packed night here. I see that somebody put something in the chat. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me go back one. Sorry. Okay. So we are now on step 5, steer the power, and our learning objectives. And what's in bold is also in your book. Is our session today is about controlling your finances. The goal of this session is to take control of your financial future and use the new plan you created in previous chapters. Also, understand the concept of financial power in biblical and practical terms, and we will look more at that, and identify areas where power and money can be misused. Also, learn how to make values-based financial decisions and commit to long-term generosity, legacy building, and economic justice. So Good evening, Indy. How are you? She's still trying to come on.
Good
So
evening. Sorry to
thank
interrupt.
you.
I'll go on mute.
Thank you for joining. Um, and I know this is your first class. If I want to stop for a minute and just allow you to introduce yourself. Um,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Indy West. I am a certified mediator living currently in the Hillside, New Jersey area. I am the instructor sorority sister, Gamma Phi Delta Sorority Incorporated. And I apologize for being late, but I just saw the email and I'm having a bit of technical difficulty, so I'm going to go on mute. So not to interrupt anymore, and everybody have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. So let's continue on here. So let's do a quick check-in. See how everyone's doing. Last week, your homework was to read Steer the Power. Step 5, also complete the activities in the book, create a household budget, and of course, stay on course. So I want to hear from you to see how you're doing.
So far, so good. Still practicing putting the strategies in place. I went through the other two reporting agencies, and everything seemed fine there, thank God. And so far, so good.
All right, great. Yes, because your to-do task, you said that you would look at your credit report. So you
Yeah,
accomplished that. So good for
yeah.
you, April.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Joe, you want to check in?
I'm checking in. I doing the same thing, just that today I just came home because I wasn't feeling well, but still applying the principle and still being mindful of spending, getting receipts. Like today, I had to get something from a lady, and she asked me, "Would you like a receipt?" And I was like, "Yes, I would." Like before, I'd be like, "Not necessarily," but now I'm like, "Yes, thank you. I need my receipt. Thank you very much." Excuse me.
Good for
So
you.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And one of your goals for the week was to save $50. Were you able to accomplish that goal?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Save my
right.
$50. That's right.
All right. All right.
Saved it and put it aside.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes. Hmm.
Joe.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear me. So kind of spotty. I was able to save the 100 as I expected. Did start my budgeting for the and
Good for you. Your goal was $100. So that's awesome. So everybody stayed on track. Well, how are you feeling or any challenges you experienced this week?
Not with me.
Okay. So everyone's good.
Yes.
All right. So our memory verse is Philippians 4:13. And the memory verse is on page 39 of the workbook, and it reads, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When you hear that verse, what does that say to you? How does that verse speak to you?
that there's
I
nothing that God and I can't handle. Like when I put everything, instead of doing everything to my own strength, I can do, I just like lean on God, then I'm able to get through stuff better.
Mm-hmm. Josie, you were getting ready to say something?
No, I said, did you not hear me?
No, we didn't hear you.
Oh, and I was saying that with God, as long as I lean on God, I can get through it
Okay.
instead of trying to do it through my own strength.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought that was April speaking.
Oh, okay.
Right, right. So, this verse is one of the most quoted scriptures in the Bible, and many of us have heard it, even memorized it. But today, I want us to really sit with it and apply it specifically to our financial journey. So as we read it, and let's read it together. I can do
can
all
do all
things
things through
Through
Christ
Christ
who
who
strengthens me.
strengthens me.
Philippians 4:13.
So, there may have been times, you know, that you looked at your bills and felt overwhelmed. Or, have you ever tried to stop overspending or break a financial habit and thought, I just can't do this? Or have you ever doubted your ability to save, give, or even dream again?
Yes.
When we look at that, the verse, this verse is your answer. So I just want to break this verse down for us, because it's such a small verse. It's only like less than it's 10 words that are in this verse. And to break it down, it starts off by saying, I can do all things. This is an arrogance, it's assurance. Paul, who wrote this, wasn't saying I'm strong in myself. He was saying I have access to strength beyond myself, right? Because we can't do this by ourselves. And thinking about the whole purpose why D-Free was created, it was created on biblical principles. And then it goes on to say, through Christ, this is where our true power lies, not in our own income, not in our credit, nor in our budgeting ability, but in our connection to Jesus, the one who makes all things new. And it ends, the end of the scripture says, who strengthens me? Christ gives us the inner strength to change our mindset, to stay committed, and tell ourselves no, and say yes to what really matters. So as you go through this week, remember this scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the strength that we get from knowing and depending on Christ to get our strength. Any comments or questions about that?
I know there was a
So,
time when I used to just work long, crazy hours and get stuff done. And then one day I just stopped in because the scripture came, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to thy own understanding and all thy ways acknowledge him and shall direct thy path. And then I was listening to a preacher and he was saying outside of Jesus you can do nothing. So I had to stop trying to do everything in my own strength.
mm,
And when I really released all of that, things still got things still got done, but I wasn't as drained as I was previously.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you stop trying to do it yourself.
exactly.
Yeah. So I want to play a video that talks about again, this section is steering the power, how we steer the power and steering it back towards God and not just ourselves. And I want to play this video from Dr. Soares uh, that talks about steering the power. So let me bring up that video and share my screen, please. I'm sorry I wasn't able to add this in to the PowerPoint.
I want you to know that I started doing community work. I started working, as it were, in public life by working on a voter registration drive. I was a young man in my late teens, and there was a woman in our neighborhood who wanted to run for public office. She ended up winning, and she moved up, and she became a real history maker in my state. But the reason I did that was because I learned about the power of local, county, state, and federal government. There were so many things that needed to be changed and so many benefits that we have received because government has used its power in particular ways. And unfortunately, there are certain circumstances that we experience now because government did not do what was in the best interest of our communities and our families at all times. But when we look at government power and we consider the need to continue advocating for responsible and integral government leadership, we also have to look at the power that we have ourselves. And that's why I talk about power payments, and we talk about using our power. When I was stuck financially, and I began thinking new thoughts and listening to new media and doing all of the things that I describe in the book and the workbook that you have, what I discovered was that the power that I had was probably the most significant factor in my changing who I was into who I have become. And so when people ask me, well, after you came to your senses, after you came to yourself, after that catalytic moment at your grandmother's grave, what did you do? And I tell them very specifically. I had rented an apartment with wall-to-wall carpet, and it was in a nice section of town, and it was more than I could afford, but I was a bachelor and I wanted to live a certain way. And when I came to my senses, you know what I did? I broke my lease, paid a penalty to get out of that apartment, and moved back to my mother's house and slept in a sleeping bag for 6 months. And now I had all of that rent money to use to pay debt. I sold my Cadillac, that was costing me hundreds of dollars more than I could afford. And I bought a used 2-door foreign car, stick shift, no air conditioning, AM radio, but it was cash. And I got rid of those car payments. And I used the savings to pay debt. I had bought furniture for my apartment, and where I lived, you could buy furniture, $2,000, $3,000 worth of furniture. My living room set, dining room set, had the nerve to have the kitchen set without even cooking. All of that furnishing cost me $3,000, but I was able to finance it on credit. And I paid $22 a month, and had I paid $22 every month, it would have taken me 39 years to pay off that furniture. And so I sold the furniture and paid it off 37 years early. That was the power that I had. And within a year, I'd paid off all of my debt because my rent and my car payment and all of that furniture with all of that interest gave me enough money to use differently, to take what I had to accomplish my goal. And that's the challenge here. We will always fight for justice. We will always demand that we are treated properly by government. Government has some power, but we, individually and by family, we have the power to make a big difference in our own lives. And I just believe that it is unreasonable to expect someone else to do more for me than I'm willing to do for myself. That's how I got where I am. Why don't you decide what you can do to use your power to get where you want to be?
Powerful statement said there.
Very true.
So Chair, what did you hear there, or what stuck out for you in that clip?
That he was going through whatever he was going through. The part that really stuck with me was him going back to his mother's house and saving the money and sleeping in a camping bag. That, you know, to be able to get where he is today. And I remember my dad used to say that comfort is a gift to a fool. You know, we like to be comfortable all the time. But if you want to get to the next level, some comforts you have to give up in order to get to where you need to be.
It was a long journey, Deacon Gup. It was a long journey.
I mean, for me, it's the car. Like, can you hear me?
Mhm. Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So, one of the things that I did this year, because I lost my employment at another company, a very big company, is I downgraded my car, kind of like he did. I had this fancy, it's not a high end car. I had a high end Toyota. Believe it or not, they do have those. And it was what's called the Toyota Venza, and it's their highest SUV. They have like the Supra, the Venza, and the Grand Highlander. And I was paying almost $600 a month for that car. It was way too much. And they discontinued it because they had this other thing that's neither here nor there. So I came in and I made an arrangement with them, and I downgraded to their standard electric SUV because of the rebates. I'm down to like much less, maybe $400 a month instead of $600.
Yeah. Yeah. And what did that feel like, being able to do that?
I felt great because my credit was strong enough where I was able to do it
Mm-hmm.
without any penalties, because I did break my lease a little early. That's why it's $400. If I didn't have that, because it was so expensive, that car, if I didn't have that, I would probably be paying $200 a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And he talks about there's some I heard sacrifice. There's some sacrifices that you have to make, and also goal setting.
yeah.
And going back to what we talked about 2 classes ago, needs versus wants, right? By setting his goals, it helped him to achieve his needs versus his wants. And we're going to look at, this whole power thing, and not just power as a status, just as a status, but having power in the word, power over our own situation. So I want to ask the question, anyone else before I move on want to chime in?
This is Indy.
Yes.
What stuck out, there were several things, but one of the high points is kind of getting truthful within yourself and determining what you really need to do versus what you were saying, what you want to do, and prioritizing that and shifting the ego out of the way and staying the course once you decide what that is to get things accomplished.
Yes, that is so true. Getting the ego out of the way. Like when you have goals and in mind, like you have to do what it takes to make it happen. And he came to the realization that, you know, the government can do certain things and, you know, they have a level or sense of power over how we move and how we be. But the ultimate power over each one of us as an individual, ultimately God has that power, but we have to be able to tap into God's power for our own lives, right? So again, goal setting is so important for your finances. If you don't have goals, and we'll talk a little bit or look at what happens when your goals and your finances is not in place and how that power comes into play. So what is power? I know it's here on the screen. We're going to talk about that. Power is the ability to choose, influence, direct outcomes. But what about financial power? It's not just money, it's control, it's discipline, it's freedom and responsibility. When you're no longer in survival mode, you can shift from coping to creating, right? Because when someone is trying to survive just for day-to-day living, it's a different mindset. And then our power, we have to depend on others to help us to get to where we need to be. So financial power also includes the ability to make choices, the ability to say no, and the ability to give, save, invest, and serve. And Joe just gave a great response about his car that he was able to turn in, you know, and because of, you know, his credit score, he was able to go in and to be able to negotiate a different car and have a lower payment. So that's power. That's financial power. So what does it mean to you to have financial power?
It would be the ability to be able to accomplish the things you need. I mean, yeah, that you need, and to be able to make a decision of wants and needs. And if you want something, to prioritize it so that you can get that want, but not to be over extravagant, but to really take the time to think about what you want and is it worth it.
Yeah. So make it personal. What does
Yes.
it mean to you?
Oh, me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I've done that in my life. You know, I'm not a big spender, but it is certain things that I do want. Sometimes if I go to the store and I see something I want, I don't necessarily buy it right away. I just wait and think about it, and then if I think about it and I really don't want it, then I don't get it. But if it's something that I really want and I have savings or something to get it, I do get it. So I do think about it before I buy it. I don't impulse buy at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, you know, it's also when you have that financial power, it's the ability to make a choice instead of reacting to a crisis. It's the ability to say no to what doesn't align with your values, right? Because, sometimes we can buy and spend. I think one of the traps, you go on vacation and you go to one of the time sharing, and you're intrigued with everything that you see, and you end up signing on to a time sharing agreement that really doesn't align with your financial goals that you had in line. It's just someone presented you with something that looks really great, and then when you get back home and think about it, you're already into one of those agreements. So it's also the ability to give generously when you have financial power. Save wisely, invest strategically, and serve faithfully. But here's the key. Power without purpose becomes prideful, right? So if you're making all this money, and you don't have any purpose for all your money, it becomes prideful. If we're not intentional, financial success can make us self-centered and reckless. That's why this step steering the power is about direction, right? Like a car, it's not enough to have horsepower. You need a steering wheel, right? So this section here, this chapter is giving us direction on how we use our power. So I just want to take a few minutes to reflect. Are you currently steering your financial decisions or just riding along?
Before riding along, but now steering,
All
being
right.
really, really, really mindful of every single thing. You know, I was talking to my niece and I was telling her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I don't think I want these anymore. Then I'm gonna send them back." Like before, she was like, "Oh, I need this, like that," but now, after talking to her, telling her about the defree and what I'm doing, yeah. So that's it. Steering.
And that's the power. When you start to teach others how to control their finances, that's using your financial power. Anyone else? Are you currently steering your financial decisions or just riding along?
I'm steering, that's for sure.
Yes, you are.
Just wanted to share with the group, Pastor Carol will be unable to make it tonight.
Okay.
She sent me a message just to FYI. But
All right.
yeah, like I had some moments this year, and then this really made me go back and really take another look at my expenditures, my statements, and I'm finding stuff like that. I used to live in Westchester, and I was part of a homeowners association. And then that homeowners association, they always leaned on me for the Zoom because they were not technologically savvy. So, you know what? Fine. You guys pay me for the year, and I'll pay it. Well, I haven't been there in about 10 years. And I know last year they hadn't squared up for this year. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I looked, and there it was. Months, like a couple of months. So you guys got to A, pay me for January to now, and B, I'm canceling it because you're not even using it because I looked in there. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
Joe, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll take care of that. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I
Mhm.
can't believe. So, you know what? I had it when I was when I was doing my other job, and it was like, whatever. I got money. I don't care. But now I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't have money, so I care a lot. It's a
And
different
even
story. Now
when
I
you
got these.
have money, you
Yeah,
know, you don't just use it willy-nilly.
yeah. So I've
Mhm.
been finding things here and there, like something I signed up for. You know, you get a free trial, and then I went in there and I was looking and I noticed it was charging me, so I got a refund, and then I went and canceled that so I wouldn't get any more pay
Mhm.
bills. And then I just got my job gave me Photoshop So now I'm going to use my company's Photoshop and not use mine. So I cancel that and save the money. So I'm really like going through cutting.
Cracking up over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it easier for myself.
Yeah, that's
Because
great.
yeah, these boys can eat, so I need all the monies.
Anyone else? All right.
I think I'm steering now. I'm more
Mhm.
aware, maybe more aware of the expenditures going out, and I question a lot of things if I'm not sure where they, where they're coming from.
Mhm.
But right now I think I'm steering and keeping my eye out on different expenditures.
Yeah, yeah. So there's also just, as well as there is power, there's also dangers of misuse of power, overspending to prove worth. I just have to keep up with the Joneses, so I'm just going to spend, spend, spend. And financial pride or secrecy. And I love the first I want to go back to the overspending. Sometimes we use money to project success, buying luxury items or overspending to gain approval. This is often rooted in security, not purpose. It's the appearance of power, not the stewardship of it. So for me, years back, I was over finances at a church I attended. And you see people with, all nice things and driving great cars. And I said it before, you want to know the heart of a person, look at their checkbook, right? And when you start seeing people giving and, being a part of the church, it just gave me a different perspective on people, that a lot of people try to keep up with the Joneses, and they're really not financially stable or secure. So overspending to prove your worth. I know there's a lot of that in in our community, right? And also the financial pride and secrecy. And Josie, you hit on this, and thank you for sharing that. Some people may gain financial ground but refuse to talk openly or humbly about it. This kind of secrecy can isolate us, disconnect us from community wisdom and accountability. So we need to share, and why this matters. D free isn't just about gaining control for ourselves, right? It's about stewarding power, responsibility, and living a life of freedom, faith, and transparency. When we isolate ourselves financially, we miss out on wise counsel, right? So if you never came to this deep free program knowing that you had some financial things that you need help with, you miss out on wise counsel, right? We're vulnerable to making hidden mistakes. That's what can happen with the misuse of our own power, that using our power to exercise getting help. We end up with mistakes, hidden mistakes, going to using payday loans, not understanding um, interest and principal, which we're going to talk about, not understanding the snowball effect, looking at our financial credit reports. So when we don't engage and communicate, those are the type of things that could happen. We model independence instead of interdependence, and we may reinforce shame-based culture where no one talks about money unless it's to brag or complain. So that's really big, a shame-based culture where we don't talk about money. I know for me growing up, my parents didn't talk about money. I we assumed that we were rich, and we were not, we were nowhere near being rich, but that was never passed down, the whole money and paying bills and all that. So any questions or comments about that? The financial pride and secrecy.
I my sister, my mother had one sister, and she appeared to be doing really much better than us, and they lived in the city, and we lived in the country. And one time she told me that I was poor, and if I didn't know, let me tell you, you were poor.
Mm.
And I didn't receive it because I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about, because like we're in the country, you're not hungry, you
Mhm.
don't go without, there are trees with all kinds of fruits and vegetables and everything and stuff like that. And so I don't understand what she meant by poor.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched her children purchase and purchase and purchase and purchase and purchase and purchase and purchase all kinds of stuff. And whenever they purchased, there was three girls, and they all purchased the same thing. So if I saw, like, if one saw a pair of shoes, she had to buy like three extra pairs of shoes in their different sizes. And that's so that they could all feel like they have the same thing. And and I remember saying to myself, well, if I am poor, then your kids are poor, because they, look at them. They take every cent they get, they go ahead, they go to town and they spend it just to make appearances, like we were saying earlier. And home, and where I come from in the country, we don't have to do that. Everybody's just happy being who they
Mm-hmm.
are, and not trying to be something, or someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the cost of financial secrecy is missed opportunity for connection and transformation, right? We don't give or allow other people to have the opportunity to transform their own finances.
It's
So
true.
with D, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's true. If
Yeah,
you keep everything a secret, then nobody benefits
that's right. Nobody benefits.
because you can't take it with you. You know.
That's right. And that's, I go back to saying again, you create nice portfolios to leave for your family, but if you don't practice uh something like D-free with your family, or sharing financial information, you are subject to financial secrecy, and everything you work hard for just blown away in the matter of months. So here in D-free, we're not just managing money, we are building a movement of freedom. That means celebrating milestones without arrogance, sharing struggles without shame, and encouraging others without judgment. Like this is definitely no judgment zone or one trying to be better than the other. It's about sharing the knowledge and doing better, learning the tools to do better, and being supported in a community to help you to do better. And so some other misuse of power is neglecting to give back. And there are ways that you could give back, but sometimes comfort breeds complacency. God blesses us to be a blessing to others. Ignoring this call can lead to spiritual stagnation. Like, if you went to attended a college, give something back to the college. You give to your church, or you give to a charity of choice. Maybe there's something, you want to do that you really have a heart for, you give to that, or you start a scholarship in your name. It's so many different ways, helping a food pantry, that you could give back. Um, and then fueling materialism instead of purpose. When income increases, the temptation is to upgrade everything, our wardrobe, our car, our habits. But without purpose, these upgrades becomes distractions. Materialism is a cycle that will always leave us empty. Always leave us empty. So this brings me to the quote here: power without purpose leads to waste. So this quote is by the author John C. Maxwell. Um, though it's also appears in different business contexts, the essence is timeless and biblical. If you have influence, resources, or wealth, but don't direct them toward godly goals, you risk wasting them. What are your thoughts about that?
Sometimes we buy things that you don't need, and sometimes you overbuy because you think you can afford it. Like you might get two or three shirts, but you really just needed one, and then you don't even wear it. And then you get heavier, and then you can't wear the shirts anymore, so you got to give them away. But sometimes you have to you buy more than you need sometimes.
Mhm.
So if you have influence, resources, or wealth, but don't direct them toward godly goals, you risk wasting them. Any other comments?
Well, it's it's not like we're here for, well, we say we have wait, hold on, my sister, sorry, my sister just came home, sorry. Um Sorry about that.
So,
Sorry about
like,
that. I was saying, did you
okay,
hear me?
yes,
Okay, so I was saying that it's really important to, I have to go into another room, which is kind of loud. Um, I was saying that it's really important to give back because it's not like we're here forever. And one of the things that someone was saying, and I don't know if it was said here, is do you remember your great great grandfather? And the answer was no. And they said if your grandfather had left something for you or taught you something in regards to finances, you would remember it. But nobody, he never instilled anything in you. He never shared anything with you, and that's why you don't remember him. So it's really important for us, excuse me, to share what we know with regards to finances, because growing up in the average um home, you're not taught about it. It's never mentioned. So especially now that we have the opportunity to be on this D free program, now is our opportunity to tell people about savings and so on.
yeah. And before I go into the next slide, the story in the book about Claude and Grace. And as you look at power and how it was used in that story where, Claude had the accident, and Grace was trying to make sure that she keep the household going, and the in-laws were, on both sides would give her money, but they didn't tell Claude that they were doing that. And that goes back to that secrecy. Like the family was really in need. Like an accident happened, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to work and they needed support. But, you know, again, the power dynamics, what we're talking about now is um, in that story, what they did and did not do as a result of their financial situation. So we see the misuse of power. Um, we see that Grace tried to keep it going, and she went off to the side and would cry at night because they were not financially stable at the time because of the accident. So those are some of the things that, when we create that secrecy of what could happen. Any other comments or questions? Okay. So one of the power structures is understanding our interests and principle on our consumer debt, right? So each of you pulled your bills. You were asked to write down the interest rate that you're paying on each one of those bills. And as I was preparing the slides this week, I had to slap myself because if I have a balance, paying a credit card for a couple of months, I'll pay extra. And well, we'll see it when, and I was just like, how did I do that? In my mortgage, I pay extra on the principal, but for some of the credit cards, when I paid extra, I wasn't doing that. So let's look at two of the key terms, and then we're going to watch a video. So interest, a charge made for a loan or credit facility, or payment, or a payment made by a bank or other financial institution for the use of money deposited in an account. So that's the interest, or we get interest on if we use our credit cards, and you don't pay the bill in full at the end of the month. If you have a mortgage, any type of finances, you get interest on. I love, like if I have to purchase something for my home and I pull out my Home Depot card, and, they'll give you 6 months to a year interest. That's like free money for me because I know whatever purchase I make sure it's paid off before the interest is um added to the account. And then the principal, the initial sum of money uh invested or borrowed before interest or other revenue is added, or the remainder of that sum after payments have been made. So the principal is actually what it costs. So if you purchase something for $500, that's your principal, and the interest is added on. And look at those credit cards because those interest rates are astronomical. Some can go up as high as 27%. But you also, if you've been paying your bills on time, your credit is really good, you can call your creditors and negotiate a lower interest rate. If you have a high interest rate, you could negotiate a lower interest rate. And again, we want to make sure our bills are being paid on time, so we're not getting any extra late fees or anything. So the purpose of you writing down all your bills, the date it was due, sometimes, some people get paid once a month, every other week. You can, as long as your credit card is up to date, you can request that the payment date is changed so that your bills align to be paid at the same time each month, and you don't miss paying a late fee. So, just in case that happens for you, like something is due this date, something is due that date. You could go in and negotiate to line it up so all your bills are due at the same time. Any questions or comments? So I'm gonna play this video to look at interest and principal, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
What's up, my people? Thanks for tuning in. My name is Diamond, and if you're already subscribed to the channel, thank you for your continued support. And if you're new and this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you can join the community. Today, I'm gonna talk all about principal payments versus monthly payments and what should you do with your extra cash. So let's get to it. Monthly payments, as you may know, is what you're required to pay per the loan agreement that you signed up for. So if you have a loan out there, you already know that you have to pay X number of dollars each month for so many months, and that's how you're going to get the loan paid off. Now, part of that payment is going to be applied to the principal, which is the balance that you borrowed, and the other part is going to be interest, and interest is the penalty you pay for borrowing that money. So your monthly payment is going to be split over these two things. So what's a principal payment? A principal payment is something you would send in addition to your monthly payment. And what this is a payment that's designed to reduce the principal balance that you owe. And the reason this is important is because every time they go to calculate your interest that's owed, they're going to calculate it off your balance at that time. So if you can send in an extra payment to the principal and reduce it, now you're going to pay less in interest because it's going to be calculated off of a lower balance. Makes sense, right? So you can see monthly payments is what you're required to pay per your contract. And you can see by making an extra monthly payment, you're actually paid up for the next month. On the other hand, you have your principal payments, which is something that's done in addition to the monthly payments. And what that's going to do is allow you to lower the balance that you have, which means the principal is lower. Therefore, the interest that they calculate is going to be lower, saving you money and accelerating your payoff. So they both have their place. Now, to really see this in action and really see the power behind these options, let's take a look at an amortization schedule. But before we do that, I want to ask you a question. Right now, comment down below on which one do you prefer. Do you prefer to make extra payments and be paid up, or do you prefer to make principal payments so that you can save on the interest and save the amount of money you're going to end up paying? Which one is your method right now? And stick around to the end because I'll share with you my take on that. Also, I'll share with you exactly what I did when I was getting out of debt and what worked for me.
So which one is your preferred way to pay?
I like monthly.
You say monthly?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Well, I want to hear from everybody. What's your preferred way to pay?
Monthly.
If I can double up, I will. But I'm using this. So I pay monthly, but with this snowball, now that I've got the one card off, I'm paying down the other one. And I feel like once I get a handle on this debt, I'll be able to really implement it and pay like bi-monthly.
So wait until, we finish this video. This is going to add to the snowball.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So everyone said monthly?
Yes.
Yes, monthly, if you can pay more to get it, completed quicker. That's all.
Okay.
Prefer.
Agreed.
Yes.
So you pay more, but you don't pay more towards the principal? Is that what I'm hearing from everyone? You pay more.
I want to pay more towards the principal so I can pay it off.
Yeah. But if you can't pay more, you just pay monthly.
Okay, so let's continue to look at this.
So let's take a look at that schedule. For this example, we're going to use a loan calculator available at bankrate.com. We're going to have two people borrow the same amount, $40,000 over 5 years or 60 months at 4% interest. The monthly payment is going to be $736.66. And both of these people decide to do the smart thing and get this loan paid off as fast as possible. However, they decide to go about it two different ways. On the left here, we're going to have Mr. Extra. And on the right, we're going to have Miss Principal. And both of these people decide they're going to send in double the monthly payments because they want to get the loan paid off fast. But Mr. Extra decides he's going to send them in as extra payments. Whereas Miss Principal decides she's going to send the extra payment in as a principal-only payment. So let's dive into the amortization schedule to see how this affects not only their payoff date, but also how much interest they pay at the end. Let's take a look at the first payment. In May, they send in a payment of $1,473.32. Now, since Miss Principal applied the extra as a principal payment, the amount applied to her principal was $1,339.99. Whereas Mr. Extra didn't do that and sent it in as just an extra monthly payment. So he only had $603.33 applied. So you can see the difference in their balance just off the first month. $39,396 compared to $38,660. Now what you might be saying is, what happened to that extra money that he sent? Well, it's simple. When you send money into the bank as an extra payment and not principal, what happens is they say, well, thank you, Mr. Extra. I appreciate you paying your bill ahead. Now, you don't have to worry about sending us a payment until July. It doesn't matter if you send in an extra payment every single month. They'll just keep pushing your next payment due date out further and further and further. Whereas when you make a principal payment, every time you make a principal payment, they'll apply that extra amount towards the principal, further reducing your balance, which is reducing the amount of interest that you owe. However, since that extra amount is only applied to the principal, that next month you still have your required monthly payment that's due. Don't believe me? Check this out. Banks are good at what they do, and that's making money. They're not going to do you any favors. Let me show you a real world example from my personal truck loan that I paid off last year.
So you see the difference?
Yes.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yep.
So when you do your snowball,
Mm-hmm. I got to
pay
make
that
sure I'm
off.
paying the principal, not just the interest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The extra goes towards the principal. So whenever you go into your payment online, if you you have to specify principal. Like it's usually on if you go into your online payment, it's separated. Like you could do an extra payment or you could say add this much to the principal for that payment. So you see the difference.
Yes,
So,
got
okay.
it.
Let me continue on.
As you can see, my original loan balance was a little over $40,000. At the time of this snapshot, which was about a month and a half before I paid it off, my balance at that time was just over $7,900. But where I want you to focus in on is down at the bottom where it says the payoff date was June of 2023 and the remaining payments was 52 payments. You see, that's the original payoff date, and that's how many payments I had left based off the original contract. But at this point, I had made a ton of principal-only payments, so my balance was way down. So why are they still showing that I owe 52 more payments? They do this because they want you to make the regular payments. They're not a fan of you making these principal payments, knocking down the balance. They want you to make your regular payments so that they can take their piece of the interest out of each and every payment that you send in. So this is why understanding these things is important, because knowledge is power. Now let's jump back on the computer. Okay, so I think you're starting to see the power of principal payments, but let's dive in a little deeper. Let's go 1 year in. So now they've both been using their strategy for 1 year, and they've both been sending in double the monthly payments. Now, May of 2021, what I want you to pay attention to is Miss Principal has been sending in double her monthly payments, marking the extra as a principal-only payment. And look at her balance, just 1 year in. From $40,000 down to $22,227.47. Now, Mr. Extra has been sending in his double payments as well, pushing his due date further and further out. Now, pay attention to his balance, $31,997.94. In just 1 year, Miss Principal, Her balance is $9,770.47 cheaper than Mr. Principal because she's been making extra principal payments, reducing her balance, reducing the amount of interest that she pays. Now let's zoom down to the end and see how this looks. In the end, you can see that her payoff date is September of 2022, and she paid a total of $1,997.61 in interest. Now over here showing Mr. Extra's payoff date is April of 2025, and he paid $4,199.65. However, even though his payoff date is still 2025, he's done paying his loan off in November of 2022. Because remember, the loan was 60 months, and he sent in 2 payments every month. So in 30 months, he sent in enough payments to cover his loan. But he sent in a total of $44,199.65. Meanwhile, Miss Principal only paid $41,997.61. So not only did Miss Principal pay her loan off in 27 months, which is 3 months faster than Mr. Extra, she saved $2,202.04 in interest. And that's the power of principal payments. Now show me that you're starting to see the power of principal payments by smashing that like button. Thank you. So now you've seen both of these payment methods in action. You have principal payments over here, you have extra payments over here. Now, to answer the question earlier, which one do I prefer? Personally, I prefer principal payments over extra monthly payments. And the reason is when I was getting out of debt, I was trying to get out as fast as I can. And if I could save money in the process, I mean, count me in. So principal payments was the way to go for me. And I really saw the power of principal payments when I was paying off my truck. So they both do have a place, and I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. They're both good because it's money towards something that you owe. But making a principal payment is just my preferred method. And what I would do for the extra payment, because some of you guys may be thinking, you know, hey, I'd rather make an extra payment just so I have the comfort and the safety of knowing that I'm covered at least 1 month ahead or more. So what I would do is I would take at least 1 month of your payment and put it in your savings account so that you have the cushion, knowing that if something happened, you can just reach over, grab the money and cover it with no problem. And from that point forward, take any extra money you get and put it towards the principal, because we're trying to get out of debt and we don't want to pay our debts up. We want to get these things paid off. So that's my take on it. Hey, I hope this video was useful for you. I hope it helps you. And if you know somebody who can use this information, don't hesitate to share this video with them. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can get more content just like this. Until next time, I'm Diamond.
Okay, I have to stop sharing so I can hear from y'all. Extra versus principal.
It will be principal for me because she's broke down how everything happens and how excuse me, and how they make you feel like you're paying, and with the 52 months, and he ended up paying more, whereas she applied her to the principal and saved on the interest alone. So that's really good information, and it's principal for me.
Yes. So I was paying a couple of things and I was just paying extra. And I'm like, oh my God. Why was I doing that?
Wake up
So
call, Dr. Selena. It was a
yes,
wake up call.
and I'm like, I should know better than that. Like I do that for mortgage, like put extra towards principal, but not thinking. I'm like, duh, because you know, I really don't carry big balances on a credit card, but I'm just like, I didn't think of it. So we're learning together.
Amen.
All right. Anyone, any other comments, ahas, or care to share?
I think sometimes when we're, you know, making those large purchase items, you get so excited in the moment, you're not paying attention to the details that you know you should be paying attention to. So sometimes we don't make the best choices at that moment, for our benefit, looking out for ourselves. So, I know for me, I have to do a better job of just kind of going in prepared, and maybe writing myself some notes so that I make sure I ask the right questions and pay attention to the right areas, that can get kind of sticky.
Yeah. So you see why this chapter, this power is so important, that you have and you use your power wisely. So before we close out today, what time is it's 8:16. We're going to take just 5 minutes, and I want us to really do some reflective work, and just think about, the questions here. And you may not be able to answer all three questions, but, you know, jot down an answer. What is your financial purpose? How will you protect your power? And how will you use your power to bless others? So it's 8:16. So come back at 8:21. I'm gonna just play this song for 5 minutes as you reflect, and come back if you care to share. You could share. If not, that's fine. So I'm gonna play this song.
I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can. Come on, let him know. I give myself. Give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. What would happen if a generation embraced this? Come on, tell them, here I am. Here I am. Here I stand. Lord, my life is in your hands. Lord, I long to see your desires revealed in me. I give myself away. My life does not belong to me. I want to be used by you. So you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away. So God, take my heart. Take my heart. Take my life. As a living
Okay. Anyone care to share?
I answered the question, how will you protect your power? And I said, I'll be mindful of the uses of my funds and not to be wasteful, and to be grateful to God for his supply.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
What's your financial purpose? I want to be a kingdom financier, and that meaning that I want to help build the kingdom of God through the use of finances, like where there is a lack, be able to fill the need there and help churches who need funding and so on. How will you protect your power? I put that by sticking to the financial strategies I learned here on D Free. I should be able to protect my power and just be a blessing to people. And
Mm-hmm.
how will you use your power to bless others? To like give back, and I have to give back to churches, communities, and individuals, like purchasing food baskets, hygiene packs for women, and different little things that you can give to people who are in need. That's something that I
Yeah.
really want to do.
For me, I plan on teaching my two young cousins who um, are now I'm their guardian. So I'm already trying to teach them some fiscal responsibilities because they're young, so they want everything. And I'm like, no, save up your money, work for it, learn, be responsible. So I'm trying to just teach them proper fiscal responsibility because it was later in life when programs like this program that I learned some more
It
efficient
was
ways to be.
later you went out, Joe.
I said I learning in
We lost them.
this and then oh, I'm not hello.
You're back. Yes.
Okay.
You said it was later and then we lost you.
Oh, okay. So I was, when it was later in life because I ended up being thrusted responsibilities when I was younger that kind of kilted um, my debt situation. So once I got out of it, I learned now, and I teach them like, don't go in over your head. That's probably the first thing you got to learn. And I definitely want to teach them how to manage their credit card so they don't go and spend like crazy.
Yeah. So the next D-free class, you could get them in there. How old
Yeah,
are they?
10 and 13.
Oh, okay. All right. And they do have a D-free program for youth.
Mm,
So, yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So I could let you know if, I'm doing it or, someone I know is doing it.
Yeah, let me know. I'd love
Be
to have them
something that
go.
they could get into.
Yeah.
All right. Andy, you care to share?
For me, um, to just keep learning best practices with regard to finances and make sure that I'm sharing with those people I encounter,
Yeah.
um, and so that they feel comfortable enough to ask questions and know that it's a judgment free zone, because I think
Mhm.
that's one of the key things when it comes to finances that put people in position not to share and discuss
Mhm.
freely, what they may be doing. You don't have to tell me, exactly what's happening, but
Mhm.
you can kind of give me a general idea and I can, then share if I have had that experience, or, what I know, best practices that would be able to help the person.
Yeah. And the one thing I love about the D-Free program is that no one's looking at your finances,
Right.
right? it's giving you the tools to equip you to fix your own. So
Yes.
that's what I love about this program. And I think a lot of people may shy away from it because they may feel, oh, somebody's going to know, my debt. But the freedom in it is saying, hey, I'm experiencing this. Still, you don't have to say what it is,
Yes.
but I'm getting the tools to move forward. So that's what I love about this.
And
So,
I think
okay.
once you get excited about doing better yourself, you're more excited about sharing.
Yep, that is so true. So true. Well, we're coming down to the end of another week. We have 3 weeks left. And I just wanted to share this resource with you. This is Tiffany Alish, and she's known as the Budgetista. So if you are on Facebook or Instagram, I encourage you to go out, like her page. She provides an abundance of free financial information. She started out as a school teacher in Newark on a $40,000 a year salary, and she tells her story how she, just became like she's a millionaire now and just teaching finances. And, from her dad starting out teaching her, and she's been on a number of different platforms, on local news stations. She has a number of books that you could purchase, bestsellers on Amazon. But I encourage you to start out by going to her page. She have a number of different free webinars and, Facebook lives that you could go and just glean from. So, great resource if you have not heard of her before. Also, always keep our top 10 rules and up and in front of us. Face the numbers head on, live on a budget, stop borrowing money, prioritize debt repayment, increase your income if you need to, build an emergency fund, cut unnecessary expenses, pay more than the minimum. And now we know that if we do pay more, if it's your choice, you could pay the extra towards the principal. Stay motivated and accountable, and plan to be debt free in the future. Homework for next week. Our chapter is chapter 6. Set the timer. So read the chapter, do the exercises, make sure that you have created a budget, and answer the following question after you had a moment to reflect on the class, your situation, and pray. Responsible actions I need to schedule and do this week. So just think about responsible actions that you need to think about and do this week. It is 8:30 on the nose.
For
So
that.
we do our closing prayer. Any last comments or questions?
Am I able
was
to
really
get those top 10
go ahead.
items source, Selena? Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, I dropped the link to all of the resources in the
In the chat.
chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if you didn't grab it, I could email it directly to you. So all of the PowerPoint slides, handouts that we have used up until this point, everything is in that folder. All right. If there are no.
Miss I forgot her name. Indy, if you're interested, if you want to catch up, we do have available the other classes on our YouTube channel. It's simply First Presbyterian Church, Newark, and you'll see the
Awesome.
D free courses.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Oh, they're on the
of
YouTube
course.
channel?
Yep.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. Oh, she didn't tell you? Yeah, Pastor. Yeah, Pastor had me put them up. It's great.
I
They're
thought you
doing
were
very
just
well. The numbers are
recording.
great.
Oh, so I have to make sure I'm
No, that was the whole point.
okay now.
Yeah, so that we can go over and
I'll
listen
edit
to
this out,
you,
though.
Miss
I'll edit this
Selena.
out.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
great, great, great.
How
All
you
right.
think we're doing so good?
You can go
Because you're
back and
coming
look.
to class and you're doing the work.
Yep.
We're
All
watching
right.
we're watching
Right.
the YouTube thing and going over. That's how we sound like we know what we're saying. But we're
Well,
going over
that's
listening to
great.
you.
Okay, I have to tell others that they can go over to the YouTube. That's good to know. Good to know. All right. So who would like to close us out in prayer this evening?
I'll do it.
I'll read this. Oh, okay.
God, in your word, you challenged me to be prepared. I am asking you to give me a humble spirit that can guide me to accept the changes I need to make to be prepared. Amen.
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 Well, thank you all and have an amazing week.
You too. Take care.
All
You too.
right.
Thank
too.
you.
Take care,
Everybody be
everyone. Have a
safe.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Good
Nice to
night,
meet you,
everyone.
Indy.
Nice to
Nice to
meet
meet
you,
you all as
Indy.
well. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in the space.